everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's Melinda here with the Coaches Console and Easy Breezy Bootcamp. And oh my gosh, I am so excited to bring not only one of my colleagues, one of my favorite people in the world, one of my closest friends, confidants, girlfriends, soul sister. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. This gal.
Sorry, that might be me.
My favorite people.
We look great.
My closest friends, confidants, girlfriends, soul sister.
Sorry about that, everybody. Technology.
Wow, you're so powerful. There's like 6 of us happening all at once. I love it. That's what happens when you have that much amazingness. You just short circuit technology. Because we have a lot here, and I am so excited to have you here, Sage. Thank you so much for being here and for joining me and just being in this community with us. And oh my gosh, like what in the world? You've got your book going on. It's getting out there. I have to say, and look, I even have mine. I have it tagged because there's some amazing parts in this book. But gang, this is the hot off the press. Like nobody has this version because this is what I got as a sneak peek before it went published. So this is like a treasure that I will hold very dear to my heart. And so I just wanted to bring Sage because she's got a new book out there, Women Rocking Business. And I wanted to bring her here just to really talk to you about what does it mean, women rocking business. Like Sage, why did you write this book? Why did you start down on this journey?
First of all, it's just so amazing to build my business alongside you, Melinda. I think we both sort of got to the point where we were running 7-figure sort of $1 million businesses at the same time, kind of showing up at some of our business events being like, what do we do now? And
No, we didn't do that.
I'm just so grateful to have a sister on the path who's figuring it all out alongside me. And I think I'm just really excited to meet all of you. Melinda brags about you guys all the time. Like she's one of my colleagues that anytime I ask her how it's going, she's like, these people are amazing and I love coaching them. And she just like brags about you guys all the time. And I just love that about who you are, Melinda, and the community that you've created. You've created such an amazing community. And I'm so honored and proud to be with you guys today. And I just want to encourage every single one of you to digest as much information from Melinda as you can. She's amazing at structures and systems to get your business up and running and help you get clients. And for me, really, I came to this path not as an entrepreneur. You know, I showed up on the scene 5 years ago or so, and I was a retired school teacher from Iowa, just trying to make a living as a coach, you know, and I was making $28,000 a year, and my mom didn't want me to sell Girl Scout cookies because she was afraid I would offend the neighbors as a little girl. That's how sort of like anti-salesy my family was. So the fact that I'm now training women to rock sales and to build 6- and 7-figure businesses, just my whole family, it kind of blows their mind. They're like, I finally brought my mom to my event last year, and there's like 500 entrepreneurs in the room, and we get her up on stage and she's just like, I can't believe my daughter is leading all of you.
Goosebumps.
I just want to say to every single one of you, like, if you don't think you're cut out for it, if you don't love sales, if you don't like the part of business where you have to like get your stuff out there, I can really relate. You know, as a school teacher, I didn't have to market myself. And if I can do this, if I can build a 7-figure training company, we're reaching about 100,000 women around the world now. If I can do this, if Melinda can do this, so can you. And this really, for me, has been a labor of love. Over the last few years, I've been writing the book and growing my company. And it really came out of, as I went out to start my business, I actually started by leading events in my living room. I would invite women over to my living room and teach them about business and teach them about leadership and teach them about facilitation. And, you know, some of them ended up hiring me, and I'm like, oh my God, this can become a business. And it's literally turned from like 12 women sitting around on couches in my living room with a cup of tea to, you know, $1 million training company. And one of the things that I found in going out and acquiring my own skills and tools to build my own company and to get the business building skills to also support my clients was that a lot of the models out there felt very masculine to me. Yeah. And one of the things that we've done is we've combined my, you know, I have 10 years of experience in the women's leadership field with the business training that I've invested in over the last, 5-6 years. And merging those two things together, what we do know is we teach certain key business strategies. We teach key client attraction strategies, especially for women entrepreneurs, but they work for men too. If any of you men are watching, we are not anti-man. In fact, you'll get all kinds of great information here today, and thanks for being here. But we're really training women to start businesses. We have anywhere from like 150 to 500 women in our programs at one time, in our year-long programs. And we are training women to start businesses from a place of collaboration rather than competition. And
right there, I want to interrupt you because that is one of my favorite things that you talk about. There's a couple other little sayings that you have like this, but I want that to land. Say it again.
Yeah. So it's all about building your business, especially if you're a woman out there and you don't like the competition, the sort of dog eat dog thing that goes on, right? It's about building your business from a place of collaboration rather than competition. So how much further could you go if you really knew like that this community right here was just completely behind you? They totally have your back so that you can fall on your face, because you will sometimes. Like if you wanna keep up leveling, if you wanna keep reaching more and more people, there will be times that we stumble and make mistakes. We're humans, we're not robots. So like we have a saying in our community where it's like, we're gonna have your back whether you fall on your face or whether you end up on Oprah. Because we usually have fear at both ends of the spectrum, right? And then, Melinda and I have gotten to the point where we can promote each other and send each other hundreds of possible new clients just with one email. And so just to work up to the point where you're leading with generosity, you're really willing to go out of your way for your colleagues, because that's just because of who we are. We lead with generosity. I have clients come to me a lot, and they're always kind of curious, like, how do I get people to promote me? How do I get the bigger people? How do I get people to get behind me? How do I get people to help me fill my events? How do I get people to promote me? And my answer is always the same. It's always, well, what can you do for them?
Yeah.
Because I was approaching bigger players when I first got on the scene. I had connections with Ryan Eliason, with Ocean Robbins, with some of these, people that were a little further, Lisa Sasevich, I had connections with these folks that were a little further along than I was. And the way that I became one of their referral partners was I went way out of my way. Yeah. I saw they were doing something. I put it on my Facebook page. I saw,
Sage, that's true. You're talking about how do I get the big players? And a lot of the people in both of our communities are like, how do I find these big partners? Mm-hmm. And it's not just for the big partners. Like that's how I started my business. Yeah. Oh my gosh, 15 years ago now. And it was all by networking, by word of mouth, finding my referral partners, and whether they could bring me 1 or 2 people or 10 or 20 people or 100 people. Yeah. I did the same exact thing. I got super generous and said, what are all the ways that I can help them be successful? Mm-hmm. But then there's this little interesting caveat, which I love that you incorporate into your philosophy and your world, is it's not, you just don't leave it there. You don't just say it's all about me giving. It's like, no, there's a balance. Yeah. Giving so that I can then receive. Yeah. And you also have to ask and receive to create that dynamic that keeps going, so that, again, whether it's 1 or 2 referrals or 10 or 20 or 100 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. It's the same process. Yeah. And then too, that, the main reasons we don't succeed in business when you look out across the board, especially for women, is a feeling of overwhelm and isolation. Yeah. Those are the 2 things that will stop us, and 80% of businesses don't really succeed to the point where they're supposed to. Women are actually starting businesses 1.5 times faster than men right now. But we're failing faster than men as well. And here we are making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. Minority women are making, by the way, 65 cents on the dollar. And we have to put an end to that. And we can put an end to that through entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a solution to the pay gap. And I know any man who's watching right now, you're with us. You want the women to be equal earners. And that's the exciting thing about internet marketing and speaking and the self-growth industry. Women are on an equal playing ground with men in this industry. We are in the Wild West. So I just want to pause and appreciate that for a moment and really encourage all of you women out there that are listening to really join us, be willing to work through your fears, gather your community, find like-minded communities like this one, lean into them, show up for this community, and then use this community as a launch pad to go do amazing things, because none of us can do it alone. I think women are oftentimes really wired to want to be independent.
we want to do things by ourselves because we haven't always been able to, and now we can, right? And so we'll oftentimes really try to be like superwoman because we don't want to be codependent.
Well, it's also the masculine model. Like what we've known in the past is to follow the masculine approach. And the masculine approach is to go out and conquer yourself, like to go out on your own and conquer. Yes. And so we're, as women, as we're coming up into this world and want to be successful and starting to use our voice and put our gifts and talents out there, it's like, okay, the model that we have, you go out and you conquer. And then it doesn't feel right, but it's what we know to do. So we just have this weird cycle that keeps happening.
That's
and
right.
So many people, like in our boot camp or in our community, these women, they know to be isolated. They know to stay behind the scenes, figure it all out first, get professional, make sure they know what's going on, and then put themselves out there. And that is not how it works.
No.
That is not how women work. That is not how we are designed.
No.
We're designed to connect with
we actually need support from the beginning, and creating content in a closet is not going to get you to the point where you're creating something that people really want. Like, I would so much rather invite you guys to engage with your community from the beginning. Like, what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this title? What do you guys think of, this brainstorm I just had this morning? Because the sooner you can run it by people and the sooner you can actually get, human interaction with it, the stronger what you're going to create is going to be anyway. Right?
Yeah. One of the things that I love in your book, and this is another kind of philosophy that we share, is that a woman's vulnerability is her greatest power. Yeah. And it's her greatest source of inspiration. And that is such a mindset shift, because we've always been taught, women have been taught, don't be vulnerable because you'll look weak. And it's actually that vulnerability, just like you said, that's a very vulnerable spot to be in, to go to your community and say, hey, gang, I just had this creative thought this morning. What do you think? Before we flesh any idea out or figure out logistics or details, it's just like, here's the raw idea. What do you think? And have this co-creative environment with your community.
And then to be willing to actually take the feedback, right?
Yeah, and then to hear it. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not so good.
Sometimes people want it to be different.
Never do that again. But it's all research and it's all learning and it all moves you forward. But that spot of vulnerability.
Yeah. The world is so tired of leaders who are just wearing a mask and doing like their canned spiel.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting to the point where we can just see straight through it. We're like, we've had enough of it. Like, we want connected, in the moment, heartful, dynamic conversations and sharings, that are about real stuff. Like that, like we're kind of tired of staying on the surface. So the sooner you're able to kind of open up yourself and share a little bit more vulnerably. And that doesn't mean that you don't bring credibility, right? Like, even when I first started out this interview, right? I'm like, as a little girl, I couldn't sound weird.
Talk about this.
Right? Like, as a little, like even the first few minutes of my interview, it's like, as a little girl, I couldn't sell Girl Scout cookies, right? Like, I come from this non-salesy family. It was terrifying to sell myself, right? And then we've built $1 million company, right? So like, how do you bring in those first few minutes that you're connecting with one person or 4 people or 100 people, how do you bring in something that makes you really human and something that makes you a badass? And the thing that makes you a badass doesn't have to be like, I've worked with hundreds of clients. If you're just starting out, the thing that makes you amazing can be, I helped a woman in my community find the love of her life, or I've spent the last 10 years studying leadership, or if you're not feeling like you have your own credibility because you're first starting, you can actually lean on the credibility that a modality that you've studied could bring you, right? You could bring your own humanity and vulnerability to the table. And then you could bring some stats around, when you have a coach, you're 90% more likely to follow through on stuff, right? Like, that could be the credibility that you bring. But when you are willing to be human and vulnerable and imperfect alongside the confidence that you have, that you can take your potential client somewhere, they're going to trust you, they're going to open up to you, and you'll be able to serve a lot more people.
And the key to being able to tap into that vulnerability and lean into that to express it is to not stay isolated. When you stay isolated, the only thing that's going to happen is your gremlins, your villains, your itty bitty shitty committee, like all that self-doubt and talk. Have you not heard?
I've never heard you say that before. I love that.
Yeah, so like that just itty bitty shitty It lives up here and it just won't shut up sometimes. And it just like when you're isolated, it gets out of control. And then you start listening to it and then you start believing it. And then you stop your efforts. But when you can lean into a community of like-minded women and like-minded entrepreneurs now, and this is one of the things that I say a lot is when you don't have the courage in the moment, you can lean into the courage of the community.
Yes.
Or you can support others, and it's this give and take. And so it's that collaboration and connection that allows sharing your vulnerability and your greatest resource and power to be a lot easier. Because when you have 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 people backing you, it's like, oh, I got this. I got this. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, but I got this.
And isn't it interesting that it's so much easier to promote somebody else than it is to promote ourselves?
Yeah.
So when we enter into those connections with other people and we pull on their courage and we lean into them, and then we actually like really show up and send them clients and share their stuff on Facebook, then we start to create that bank account of relationships of people like, guess what? When you have a book coming out and you're like, holy crap, I'm supposed to sell like thousands of copies of this. Like usually in my company, we're really excited if hundreds of people buy. Like hundreds of people is a lot of people in my world. We're supposed to have like thousands of people are supposed to buy when it comes to a book. So now I can kind of like get on the phone and pull out some favors. Like, Melinda, my book's coming out. Can we do a Facebook Live? Could you help me get the word out, right? And to sort of show up for people enough that when you have a big moment, then you can call in some favors, because every single one of you has the capacity of reaching as many people as you want. You know,
and I just want to pull out for a second, because you've kind of outlined a few different stages. And like in our community, we focus on the startups. So a lot of them are in the brand new beginning stages. And you know, you mentioned earlier when you first got started, there was 12 women in your living room. Like, that's it. I mean, just close your eyes. And if you're listening in, just like look at my living room's right there. Like, there's 12 women sitting in there. That's where you start. And then the next thing you know, it's 20. Then the next thing you know, it's 50. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, we're over 100. Holy cow. And it is an incremental process. It's not, there's so many people that have this belief that it's like, I have to start, I have to be successful, just like that. Yeah. And I know when we first launched our boot camp, strategically, we're like, we're just going to do it to a small group. We had 30 people in it. That's it. We had 30 people was our first group. Now we've had over 400 people in one of our boot camps before. You start small and you continue to lean in and you follow with guidance and accountability and you begin to make your way there.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all heard that saying, right? We work for 5 years to become an overnight success. We work for 10 years to become an overnight success. And, for every single one of you, like when you're first getting those first few clients, I invite you to celebrate every single one. And remember that you're on a path to mastery. I mean, John Lennon said it best when he's like, you're not a master of anything until you've put in 10,000 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I just got goosebumps. That's what we do. Right?
It's just like, of course, we're going to feel really, clunky when we first get on stage, when we first get on a video camera. Like, it can feel really clunky, and don't let that be a reason that you're not meant to be doing this. If you have the desire, if the desire is planted inside of you, I know, and I truly believe that that's enough of a sign that you are meant to be doing this. And I'm so glad you've landed in a community that's going to support you to keep doing it, right?
Now, I've got another question for you, because we've talked about you have the 4 leadership styles, right? So can we dive into those? Because I think those are...
I love this topic because I think so many business consultants out there are talking about like the script, sort of like, how do you sell? What's the script for selling? What's the script for having like a selling conversation? And, I'm all for scripts and templates. I'm all for them. But I also want to talk today about the energy of selling, the energy of enrollment, because what we've discovered in our community in helping launch dozens of 6-figure businesses at this point is that there are these 4 leadership styles that we all bring into our selling and into our enrollment conversations, that when we understand the 4 energies and we understand which one might be our strongest, like 1 or 2 that are our strong points, and then maybe 1 or maybe even 2 that we just don't feel as comfortable with, when we can identify that, we can both leverage our strengths and we can close the gap on any weak areas that we have. So I'm just going to go through them. And as I talk about each one, I want you to just ask yourself, out of the 4, which do you think is your strongest? Or maybe there's 1 or 2 that are your strongest. And then we'll look at one that you might feel less comfortable in. So the first is the energy of a visionary. If we're going to be selling our services, we have to learn to be visionaries on behalf of our clients and their goals and their dreams, right? Because one of the reasons people hire you in this particular world that we're in, the mentorship world, one of the reasons people hire you is because you can hold their goal and their vision even when they can't hold it themselves. You can put a stake in the ground and say, look, I know you can get more healthy. Look, I know you can heal this trauma. Look, I know you can lose this weight. Look, I know you can have this transformation, right? And you can hold that for them even when they are wrapped up in self-doubt, right? Just like Melinda can do that for you when you're spinning your wheels. You're like, oh, Melinda's on Facebook. I should listen to what she has to say, right? So that's the energy of the visionary. Write that down. Many of you are visionaries. Some of you might be more like the kind of person that gets really, like, you get really wrapped up in the details. You're good at sorting details, and sometimes you forget to hold the big picture. So number 1, visionary. Second leadership style is the leadership style of just being a natural mentor. If you're a natural mentor, it means that you're not afraid to give people advice. You're not afraid to be bold in directing people what to do, where to go, what to look at within themselves. If you're a natural mentor, you're very willing to wake people up. Like, you say things that just wake people up and you're unapologetic, right? I know for me, this was my edge when I first got started. I was way more comfortable being more like sensitive and nurturing, but I wasn't as comfortable giving people advice. And what I realized in the course of exploring my own relationship with mentorship, and for some of you, you're way more comfortable just being a mentor, like if you have the reputation in your household of being bossy, for instance. I'm sure none of you do.
No,
you may be you may be natural at mentorship. And then maybe some of you have an ability to do that really naturally at home, but you're not always bringing it into the workplace or into your client conversations. That might be something you want to do, find an authentic way of doing that more and more. One of the things that helped me find peace with my own inner mentor when I first got started was that even though I felt a little weird about giving people advice, I started to realize how much bad advice is out there. When you look at like what's going on in the world and all the doctors prescribing all kinds of remedies for people, and putting people on drugs and this and that and numbing people out. And I say that with love because there's a time and a place to get numbed out. Don't get me wrong. But you know what I'm talking about, right? There's all kinds of bad advice being given on the planet. Why shouldn't we, as heartfelt, conscious leaders, be willing to like give people bold advice? So again, the first leadership style is a visionary. Second is the mentor. Just tune in to like which one you're more comfortable with. The third one is that of the coach. The archetype of the coach traditionally is about like listening and being curious and engaging and pulling people's greatness out of them, right? Those are like core coaching skills. Are you a great listener? Are you great at reflecting back what you hear people say? Are you great at getting really curious and pulling out people's strengths when they can't even see it themselves? If you're really naturally great at those things, you're probably a naturally great coach. And the fourth leadership style is more of a healer type of leadership style. You're leading more with nurturing. You're leading more with sensitivity. You're leading more with intuition. You're loving people up. You're nurturing people. You're wrapping people in a safe blanket of, reassurance and safety, and you're in the right place and you can say anything here. And if you're somebody who people just kind of lean on and tell all their secrets to, right? If you're that person that people just take one look at you and they're telling you all their secrets and they're in tears, you probably have a very strong healer archetype inside of you that you should be proud of, right? And the healer archetype, if you're like a traditional healer archetype, you may be a lot less comfortable giving people advice. And if you're a traditional mentor archetype, you may be a lot less comfortable like really nurturing people and really kind of letting people know that you get where they are and meeting them where they are. And what I found is that when we can make sure that all 4 leadership styles are brought into our selling conversations, into our offers, when we can make sure that we bring in all 4 of these energies, we can rock sales. Like we can absolutely increase our conversion. We can increase how many clients come into our world ready to pay us and invest in themselves. Because think about it, like, let's just look at the balance of the mentor and the healer. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So if you have a strong mentor in you, your homework might be to go out and make sure that you reflect back how you can see it is to be in that person's shoes. How do you bring empathy first before you bring your bold advice for them? Or vice versa. If you're really good at bringing the empathy, but you're not quite sure where to go after that, practice bringing the empathy and then practice looking in someone's eyes and saying, I'm wondering if I could coach you a little bit on this. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to take some advice because I see a gap that if we close it, you may be able to go on and have X, Y, and Z, which is really what you deserve, right? To really be willing to wake people up.
One of the things that I love about this, Sage, is in our boot camps and our training in our community, one of the things that we teach is that when you have a certain approach and perspective to selling, we have a very different way that we teach it here. It's not that pushy, manipulative, convincing, like none of that. And when one of the beautiful things that we have in our industry, because we're in this industry, when you are conscious and aware of even what you're talking about in this particular approach to selling, it's just powerful coaching. It's no longer selling. It's just powerful coaching. And that's our zone of genius. And that's what I love about this approach, because you don't have to go learn new skills. They come naturally to you. We just have to kind of work through some of those limiting beliefs or those myths that we've bought into, or some of the illusions that are in our world. We can kind of clear that out. It's like, oh my God, I can just be me. I can do what I love to do with the prospects sitting here in front of me, or the potential clients that I'm talking to.
Exactly. And just make sure the energies are balanced.
And that's what I love about this approach.
Yeah, the most successful salespeople on the planet are very present. They're very tuned in to the person they're talking to. And they're willing to really hold the possibility of where somebody can go. Well, they also bring a lot of compassion and empathy for the challenges and obstacles that your clients may be going through in the moment, right? And what we've done is we've actually put the 4 leadership styles into a quiz. I know there's a link right here alongside this video that we've posted on Coaches Console page. And when you guys take the quiz and you get your results, you'll actually get my homework assignment, my very targeted homework assignment that I've given for each quality of leadership to get you to the next level of really embodying an entrepreneur who's not ashamed or doesn't shy away from offering your services. So you'll get very individualized homework for each of the types, and you'll get a further deep dive into those 4 styles. You can take that quiz at that link below and find out about my book as well.
Yeah, just you'll see the link. It's coachesconsole.com/ let me just make sure I get it right. Leadership/leadership, because that's going to take you to the quiz. Now, I have to admit, I already went and took the quiz. I'm not going to say what my result is. I took notes. I've been writing notes, and took notes as you were going through them. And I think I would have guessed it, maybe not, but it was fun to take the quiz. And then, like you said, you've got very specific Here's what your next step is. So when you take the quiz, come back here to this post and let me know, like, which one of those 4 are you? I'd love to know what that is and support you in that, and just create a dialogue about what that means for putting yourself out there. And so make sure you circle back and share what is your, like, what was revealed on the quiz. And was there an aha that you had when you saw what your quiz type, what your leadership type was after taking the quiz? So definitely circle back here and post in the comments. I want to know for sure.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. And anywhere that you get hung up, where it's like all of a sudden you find yourself caught up in the details of somebody's story or what, rather than really holding the big picture for them, or anywhere where, like for me, I had to learn to be a good listener when I first came to this world of mentoring and consulting. It was tricky for me to really listen deeply to what it was that somebody was really asking for. And, as I developed my coaching qualities more and more, it got to be much more effective in terms of creating a two-way flow with my potential client. That moment that someone decides to invest in themselves through your services is such a sacred moment.
Mm-hmm.
Such a sacred moment. It's like, I think that when we're first starting our businesses, I know many of you are first starting, or you're really wanting to take your business to the next level. It's like learning to do that energetic dance as you're making an offer on a video or having a one-on-one conversation with someone that might be a potential client, like learning when to engage and then learning when to ask a question and lean out. Because if you're leaning in too much, guess where that other person has to go? Like they can only lean out, right? And like if you're leaning out too much, that other person there's no real guidance, right? For that person. Like we need to be giving our potential clients a map so that they can really locate themselves. Like, here's where I am. Oh, and here's where I could go. And, oh, I see that you might be the one to be able to take me there, right? So I've come to love sales. Like I used to hate it. And I've come to really geek out on like, what is the human psychology? Like what drives us to actually go take that leap and like say, I am going to invest in myself through this transformation. And I think it really is about you standing for a transformation on behalf of your potential clients, like really being willing to stand in that, because people don't buy from you just because of how much you know or how hard you work. Like they buy from you because there's a values alignment. At some point I want to talk about chapter 12. Chapter 12 is about giving to get. And we lay out a formula for aligning with a nonprofit organization or a humanitarian organization that allows you to actually like build your business through doing fundraising and giving back, which is such a cool model. It's something we stand for here at Women Rocking Business. And one of the ways I first got started was by aligning with Lynn Twist. She's a humanitarian who is very active in helping the indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest, supporting them to protect their jungle home. And I come from a nature background. I used to be a wilderness guide, and I'm kind of a nature girl. I live in Santa Cruz. I just bought a house 2 blocks from the beach last year. I'm a surfer. And when I first met Lynn, it was like, oh my gosh, there's this woman who has this cool mentorship organization, but she's also supporting, women in Ecuador in the heart of the rainforest. And I've gotten to go down there on 2 occasions with her. We've raised over $100,000 for the Pachamama Alliance, and we've raised another 400 or 500,000 for other humanitarian organizations that we've partnered with. And Lynn is a great example of someone who has sent me clients. Like she'll promote my events, and then we'll do a fundraiser at the event for her organization. And we've gotten to sit in the jungle with women, indigenous women who want to keep the oil companies out of their jungle home. And we've helped them start businesses where they take all their rainforest seeds and they make jewelry out of, rainforest, homemade crafts, and they sell the jewelry. They're called the Jungle Mamas, and they sell that jewelry to help to bring in, backup to really protect the jungle. And like, this has been this cool thing that I do in my business. And it's just a total like passion project. And when women find out that this is one of the things that we're up to, they want to come to one of our events. They want to come find out what's going on. They want to align their business with a humanitarian give back. I know Melinda believes highly in giving back. And there's a values alignment then between my clients and myself. And again, people aren't hiring me and they're not hiring you just because of the service that you offer. You know, you didn't hire Coaches Console just because they have this cool software. You know, you hired them because, I mean, 5 minutes with Melinda and you can feel that she's coming from such a place of integrity and truth and heart, and she's committed to your success, right? And it's the same thing with you. So the more you really step into understanding who you are and what you stand for, you'll find that your clients are hiring you and they're investing in themselves through your services because of what you stand for, not just because of the services that you offer.
Yeah, it's not about the coaching. It's not about whatever the work you're doing in this world. It's not about that thing. It's about the transformation, the experience. And then, like you said, that alignment, creating that know, like, and trust, KNOW, that know, like, and trust factor is really, where that comes in. And when you can bring your vulnerability to the table, you create that connection a lot faster and it goes a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Now with these leadership styles that you have, when you can be conscious and mindful of bringing those to the table, I mean, the dialogues that you create, it's not a selling to somebody, it's a dialogue that you're having to be of service to them. And it's using your natural gifts and talents so that selling just becomes powerful coaching. So you're just doing what you do on any given day, at any given moment. And it's a beautiful part of being in this transformational space that we're in, for sure. I have 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same question, but geared in 2 different ways. Like for the women, there's a lot of, and like you said earlier, I just want to make that distinction. You know, it's women rocking business, right? So it's not that you exclude men, and you made this distinction earlier. And in your book, you talk about the feminine principles, you know, and there's the masculine and feminine of everything. It doesn't mean man, woman necessarily. So do keep that in mind. So for all you guys out there, there's going to be a lot in here that you can bring in to really balance out the approach you have as well. But I'm going to address women because they have a special place in my heart. Because I've been working with women for, going on 8-9 years now. And I just love women startup entrepreneurs. There's no greater spot to be in than a woman entrepreneur starting your own business. And it's the most amazing adventure of your life. So my question is, we have a lot of women in our community that they have the passion, they have the drive, they have the enthusiasm and everything. Like, what would you tell that woman that is excited and going and just, she's moving forward? What would you tell her? What's one piece of advice or wisdom that you would impart to them?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yeah. So number one, I want to back up and say, I could not agree with you more. We need the feminine and the masculine to succeed in business. We need both. And I have women clients, because I'm so feminine and standing for women's values and everything. I have clients come to me all the time and they're like, Sage, can't you teach me to do this from a more feminine place? And they're like, can I just be more feminine? And they're all soft. And I'm always like, no.
Okay. That's how it's gonna work.
You gotta bring in the masculine, be willing to work. And then when you are willing to balance both, you can unplug at 4 PM and go be a woman all night long, right? And then take Fridays off. One of the other things that I teach freedom formula. And it really, I do want to say the feminine becomes the place that we're all creating from. All of you good men out there, you have feminine energy inside of you that just creates. It's just gonna create. That's what it's meant to do, right? And the masculine become like the riverbanks of the creative energy, right? That you've got to bring into your business. And without the riverbanks, that energy is just gonna spill out over the floodplain. That's why you need.
Because we're all about the structure.
Yeah, that's why you need Coaches Console, right? It's why you need somewhere to put all your handouts, and you need somewhere that your clients can actually log in, right? Like that's going to work for you so that you can go surfing or go take a walk on the beach or go take a walk in the woods or walk around the block. So whatever it is that you like to do in your off hours, or go have a drink, right? But in terms of really like the next step for all of us women, a couple of things. Number one, I want you to know that you don't have to work all the time. Like, it's really important that you know that. I have a schedule that I work 12 days a month or less. In fact, I've had a bunch of colleagues put me on their stages to teach the freedom formula. I'm I'm resisting the urge to have a girl chat with Melinda right now. But the opportunity to get on stage, right, and really teach people, how do you set up a business where you can work 12 days a month or less? Like, that's a conversation I'm really interested in. And that's a training. The freedom formula training is a free bonus training when you guys buy the book this week. That's just for this week. We have $1,200 worth of bonuses available with the book. One of them is my freedom formula training. I want you to know that you don't have to work all the time. I work Monday through Thursday, the first 3 weeks of the month. I take Fridays off, and then I take the last week of the month off, with the exception of the last 2 months because I've been launching a book. But like, what a gift.
Conscious decision. Like, you're like, hey, I'm aware that, yeah, it's a conscious decision. And
what a gift that time was set aside.
Right.
So that I could just spend that time working on my book if I wanted to, which I pretty much did. And then the other thing that I want to really give you permission as a woman entrepreneur to really step into is to step into really claiming that everything in your life has brought you to this moment where you're now going to serve people in an even bigger way. And your life, I really like to say that your life has been like a PhD program preparing you to bring a certain gift to your clients, and that particular PhD program that you've been through is uniquely prepared you to help your clients in a way that other people wouldn't be able to support your clients. Like, I really believe truly that there are some of you who are just really meant to hear about some of the organizational systems of business from Melinda. Like, there's a lot of other people out there teaching it, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to hear it in the way that you can hear it from Melinda because of the life she's led and the ways that she's really developed herself. And it's the same for you. You know, I know it's so easy to look out in the world and see all of these people doing something similar to what you're doing and think to yourself, why should I bother? Believe me, I've had those thoughts go through my head too. I know we all have. And I'm here to tell you that you are uniquely positioned to serve a set group of people that I really believe are waiting for you if you're willing to put yourself out there. I would even go so far as to say you have a commitment to them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, same kind of question. There's a large group in our community, a large percentage in our community, that they are not in business yet.
Yeah.
They're still in that full-time job. They know they have this calling.
Yeah.
They are daring to dream the dream. They haven't made the step. And so they're like, oh my gosh, one day. So they're in that still dreaming. Like, what would you say to them? What's the words of wisdom, the inspiration that you would pass along to those women in that spot?
Be willing to start right where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right where you are. We recommend that our clients go out and start doing trade. If you have never served clients before, just go out and get a couple of clients in exchange for a success story, in exchange for a testimonial. Just get a little bit of experience underneath your belt. There's no amount of confidence that can come from you dreaming about it and oming about it and praying about it or doing the inner work or
about it,
reading more books.
Right.
There's no amount of confidence that can come from those more inner oriented actions than the confidence that comes with going out there and serving a practice client, getting your website up, going and giving a talk at your local library, inviting 4 friends over and just be asking them to give you an hour of their life where you could stand up and just teach them something for an hour and just get practice stepping into your message. There's no amount of clarity that will come from thinking about it. In other words, clarity comes from taking action and not the other way around.
And the action doesn't have to be huge leaps and bounds. I want to add that in.
Small
It
steps.
doesn't have to be like everything all at once. It can just be little baby steps, little tiny steps.
Small steps.
Begin to build that momentum, and over time it quickly picks up speed.
We really lean on our clients to put a talk on the calendar, and they can put it on the calendar for like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks out. And but it's a talk, it's on the calendar, it's in my living room, it's in my friend's living room, it's at the local community center. And we really challenge them to pick a date, put it on the calendar, reserve the venue, and then start letting people know that that's happening. And, you know, we had a gal drive up to San Francisco for a talk the other day who's in our community, and she drove all the way up to San Francisco from Santa Cruz, and she drove an hour and a half, and she gets up there and only one person shows up. And she's like, rah, 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 and like her energy kind of sinks. Well, it turns out that that person is the perfect client for her. They end up having like an hour and a half long, pretty much like a private session. They have another meeting set to talk this week about whether this person will be hiring my client or not. And my client was also able to follow up with the 8 or 9 people that had registered for the talk, but who weren't able to make it that night. And all of those, like many of those people are already booking sessions to talk to her. Just the fact that she put it on the calendar and like sent a Facebook announcement out about it gave her instant credibility. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. And it got that momentum. It's those
put
steps.
yourself out there. Yeah.
And one leads to the next, and it just keeps picking up speed, and it's exponential in its impact. Yeah. So start with that. Beautiful, beautiful. Is there anything, I want to make sure that everybody goes to coachesconsole.com/leadership. Take your quiz and find out which of the 4 leadership styles that you are that Sage was talking about. I know mine. I'm going to wait a little bit and then I'll go post it on the Facebook group, but come back and let me know what's your leadership style and any ahas that you've had from today's training or from taking the quiz and the homework, because Sage doesn't mess around. She's got homework for you and you'll do it, and then it'll take you to the next step in your journey. But head over to coachesconsole.com/leadership and take your quiz and really become mindful so you can tap into your zone of genius, whether it's about selling, putting yourself out there, or networking, or just starting your business, or taking those first steps. Yeah. And Sage, thank you so much for being here.
And I'm going to be totally bold and unabashedly assertive and say, grab a copy of the book, because when you grab a copy of the book this week, and by the way, once you take the quiz, you'll find out all about the book. It's waiting for you alongside your quiz results. There will be a link if you want to grab the book. And when you buy the book through us this week only, you get a free ticket to come to my live event on the California coast in the spring. There's going to be 500 women from all over the world there, raising the roof and, you know, being entrepreneurs together. In fact, Melinda, we should try to get you out to that one.
Ooh, yes.
You'll get a totally free ticket to come to my event. It's a $500 ticket. And you get in for free when you buy the book this week, and you get the freedom formula, and you'll get immediate access to chapter 12. And chapter 12 is how to set up a business that gives back so you can do fundraising. And the book will be on its way in the mail to you next week, because it comes out next week. And I just congratulate all of you for like taking these small steps. It will pay off. I promise it will pay off. It will pay off. It will pay off. And something's going to happen when you keep taking those small steps and you keep having those conversations with clients and setting up your systems. You know, you look back and you all of a sudden you want to thank this version of you for taking those small steps, because they're cumulative and they result in you creating a business that will free you so you can create your own schedule, travel around the world, you know, have the autonomy that some of you are really longing for. And it's worth it. I promise it's worth it. I used to be a school teacher. I worked, 8 to 5 every day teaching school. And if I can make this transition, so can you.
Totally doable. And especially when you lean into community. Don't stay isolated, lean into community, tap into your vulnerability, bring all of that with you. And it makes the journey not only more doable, but way more fun, way more juicy. And that's what we get to do together. And that's what we're doing in this world. And I'm grateful for you, Sage, for the courage that you have to put your work out there to inspire women around the world to go for it. Because that's where we make a big impact. The world needs us right now more than ever. The world needs our voices out there. The world needs our work out there to create that transformation for the clients that are waiting. So thank you. Thank you for putting it all together. I know the countless hours that you have been spending on making sure that this is your great work. And I'm just so grateful that you tapped into your courage to put yourself out there.
Thank you so much, Melinda, for being a sister on the path with me. Thank you for bringing so much support and intelligence and wisdom to me whenever I reach out. Your generosity is a gift in my life. Love you. And love every single one of you. Your clients are waiting. Keep going.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Make sure you click below and go to coachesconsole.com/leadership. Take your quiz and then circle back and let me know what your style is. All
Bye,
right,
everyone.
bye for now.